Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk to you about why we became foster parents. We have been foster parents for 5 years now, and in that time we've had 9 children come in our home, and most of those are just like one night stays, like a respite situation where we watch the child for other foster parents and to give them a little break, and then a few of them have been foster care. Where we take them right from their parents and we care for them while their parents get better or until they need to be adopted. So the whole story of how we got to that point where we became foster parents reaches back to in our early 20s. In our early 20s, we used to take several mission trips to the Ukraine to take care of orphans over there. It was amazing. So it was something that we learned so much from. And I remember Chad talking to somebody one time about, like, he was like, why don't you take care of other poor kids? And like, why don't you help them with things like you do for these orphan kids? And Chad was like, well, here's the difference. Here's the thing. These kids, they go home to parents every night that hopefully love them and take care of them. The orphans, they don't have any of their parents. They don't have anyone to tuck them in at night. They don't have anyone to kiss them goodnight sleep, and tell them that they love them every night. So that is why we invested time into those kids instead of doing other ministries while we were in the Ukraine. It was something super important to us, and we learned so much. We learned in the Bible God's heart for orphans. It actually says in the Bible in James, it says, pure religion is to take care of orphans and widows. And I just think that's really cool how God would say something like, you could just make a religion out of this, basically. You could just do this every single day, care for these kids. You could have no emotion behind it or attachment to it, and you could just care for them, and it would still be pure before the Lord. It would be still a pure offering before Him because of His heart for them. And He truly wants them to have a home, and He truly wants family to stay together. It's really beautiful, and it's really something I really love about God is how He adopts us into His kingdom and He makes us His own. And I just think that's really cool, and I feel like I'm His daughter, so it's awesome. And so when we just finally got engaged, Chad actually was like just talking to me about getting married. He was like, one day out of the blue, he was like, hey, I think we should get married. And we were just friends, and it was kind of like this big thing. And I was like, wow, and on the spot, in that moment, I just knew it was important to me. I said, okay, I'll get married to you, which obviously he's awesome. Of course I would want to marry him. But we have to do these 2 things. And the first one was, I really, really want to adopt from China. And then, so he said yes to that. And then the second one was, I really want to go on a honeymoon to Hawaii, which is kind of silly looking back, but awesome. We got to go to Hawaii. It was awesome. And I recommend it to anybody to go to Hawaii because it's beautiful. Why would you not want to go there on your honeymoon? And so, it was just always in our heart to adopt. Even before we were married, we were like, this is what we want to do. And so right after we got married, about 6 months or so after we got married, we took a short 3-month trip to Ukraine. And this time it was unique. This time it was different because we were married, and it felt like we could do something about it. It felt like we were more parents to these kids. When you're in your early 20s, you can kind of disconnect yourself from the situation because you're like, oh, I can't do that. That's something in the way future. But in those few months, the kids kept asking us hey, can you take me home with you? Hey, will you adopt me? All these things. And it was heart-wrenching to see. And there's names and faces of all these kids that we remember from these orphanages. And we actually went to the hardest orphanages to go to during our time there. We went to the handicap orphanage where they have physical disabilities and mental disabilities, and we also went to a rehabilitation center for little boys who are strung out on drugs. And this is where we learned to love. We just played soccer with them. We told them about Jesus, and we played with them every single day. And that was what Jesus said, that's pure religion, and it was so beautiful. So we got back home from that trip, and we bought a house that fall, the house we're living in now. And Chad just looked at me one day and he was like, it's time to start foster care classes. And we talked about it a little bit in the past. And when he said that, I knew it was right, but there's a little bit of fear in me. I was like, oh my gosh, children are gonna live in my house probably the same way you just do, like feelings you would have if you're gonna like have your own child biologically. It would probably feel the same way, just a little bit scared, a little bit like, can I be a parent? You know, like all these feelings. But we said yes to it, and we started Pride classes that spring. And then we didn't get any placements for the first like 6 months after doing our home study and all that stuff. We just had one overnight stay, and that was it. So our first placement was actually a full year later, and we got Augustine and Nate. And so I'm going to show you a picture of them. They are now our sons, so I can show pictures of them. So they've been living with us for 4 years. And so something very unique about them, as you can tell, they are of Asian descent. So something very unique about them for us is that they are ESL. And so I just thought that was really cool how God set that up and made that happen, because we just love missions. And so anyways, that's our story. I hope you enjoyed it. We're gonna have another story about the boys' first day coming up soon. So anyways, I hope you have the best day ever. We'll see you soon. Bye.